So there is a couple of new cards that I need to get you guys caught up to that is coming out in the new pack. What is it, like Rise of the King or something like that? They always do something corny for the pack name. It'll be in the title though, because that's how you click on it. A lot of people think that these packs, or this particular pack, is not going to be good. And I'm not going to lie to you. In comparison to the Snake Eyes pack or the Super Heavy pack, it is underwhelming. But there are some gems and some really good cards in this pack that we need to talk about, because this brings a lot of bridging for other Yu-Gi-Oh decks to be a lot stronger. Let's go ahead and talk about the Resonator Red Dragon Archfiend strategy, because out of all of the strategies that come out in Return of the King, this is easily the strongest. So as you already know, Red Dragon Archfiend is the master of faster. It is one of the most iconic Yu-Gi-Oh strategies in Yu-Gi-Oh period. And it's actually built off of the Resonator monsters. Now, the Resonator monsters are a group of tuner monsters that normally can be summoned or give you great effects. Let's go ahead and look at some of these Resonator monsters, because I'm telling you, these aren't just for Red Dragon Archfiend. They can be splashed in other strategies to make them stronger. Soul Resonator is a level 3 Resonator monster that allows you to add one level 4 or lower Fiend monster from your deck to your hand when it is summoned. That is crazy good, because not only does it provide support for the Red Dragon Archfiend strategy, typically you're going to search Bone Archfiend to be able to summon itself to the side of the field for synchro summons, but it also can search any level 4 or lower Fiend monster from your deck to your hand. You can think of cards like Ariana of the Labyrinth. You can also think of cards like Skullmeister. The potential for this particular card is limitless. And then also, if cards you control would be destroyed, while you control a Red Dragon Archfiend or a synchro that mentions it, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. So if you just so happen to have a Red Dragon Archfiend monster on the field and you're playing Labyrinth, and they activate a card like Harpy's Feather Duster, you can actually just banish Soul Resonator in your graveyard to protect your back row. That is a common problem for this particular Labyrinth strategy that is easily mitigated by Soul Resonator. Again, these cards may not seem really good and at first, but when you start mixing them with other strategies, or when you start playing it alongside of the deck, you start to realize that the deck is a lot stronger than it seems. This is going to be a set that releases that feels bad, but then when Snake Eyes gets rocked, then it will see the appeal. Exactly. So stay with us, guys. The Red Dragon Archfiend is built on being able to synchro summon into Red Dragon Archfiend, but it does it in a myriad of ways. Using Soul Resonator to get to Bone Archfiend, which can then summon itself to the side of the field and modulate its level, gets you into Red Rising Dragon. Now, Red Rising Dragon allows you to be able to target a Resonator monster in your graveyard in special summoning, which is kind of crazy, especially when you get to summon monsters like Crimson Resonator. Crimson Resonator has a pretty unique effect, is that if you control exactly one Dark Synchro monster, you can special summon 2 Resonator monsters from your hand or deck. That's right, your hand or your deck. And this is incredibly easy to get into because Bone Archfiend allows you to be able to send one Fiend Tuner monster from your hand or deck to be able to increase or decrease its level. So not only does Soul Resonator, a level 3, allows you to search Bone Archfiend, a level 4, you can summon it and make a level 6, 7, or 8 Synchro monster, and then send a card like your Crimson Resonator to the graveyard for a monster like Red Rising to special summon it and get 2 more Resonators from your deck. Coincidentally, you can search Wandering King Wild Wind and summon it to your side of the field with Soul Resonator and be able to synchro summon without sending any cards to your graveyard. So the deck actually does have a lot. With your effect of Crimson Resonator, you can summon cards like Red Resonator, gain life points, or even Synchron Resonator, which is a pretty good target. But the new monster, Envision Resonator, is actually crazy good. Now, this card can be summoned anytime you have a level 5 or higher Dark monster on the field, so it works incredibly well with the Abyss heals. Also, when it's sent to the graveyard, you can add one spell or trap card that mentions Red Dragon Archfiend from your deck to your hand. This card is a pivotal card for the Red Dragon Archfiend strategy, but overall, for any deck that synchro summons and wants to take full advantage of an entire engine. The spell card Crimson Gaia allows you to be able to add one Red Dragon Archfiend or one card that mentions it from your deck or your graveyard to your hand, meaning that you can use Crimson Gaia to add Vision Resonator to add a Crimson Gaia, and the loop can keep on going. This is really important for some future strategies. Coincidentally, this strategy can also add a card like Red Zone that says when your opponent activates a card or effect while you control Red Dragon Archfiend or a synchro monster that mentions it, you can target a card on the field and destroy it. Fiendish Golem allows you to target a card on the field with 2,000 or more attack and banish it. Then if you activated it while you control a Red Dragon Archfiend or a synchro monster that mentions it, it gets you a free Fiendish Chain from your deck or your graveyard. These cards aren't necessarily blowout cards, but when you consider that Fiendish Golem is a normal trap card that can get rid of your opponent's cards, it triggers the effects of your Labyrinth monsters. And as a person that literally sees the best in all Fiend strategies, it's really cool that this particular strategy can be mixed as a Red Dragon Archfiend deck or just played in other strategies like Unchained, which we'll get support for in the future, or messed with the Labyrinth strategy, or pretty much anything else that says Fiend in it. But let's get to the Synchro Monsters, because that's where it actually starts to show its shine. The new Synchro Monster in Scar Red Dragon Archfiend is incredible. Its name becomes Red Dragon Archfiend while it's on the field or graveyard, but if it's sent from the Monster Zone to the graveyard, it allows you to special summon a Red Dragon Archfiend from your deck, and it's treated as a Synchro summon. Then if it was sent to the graveyard for material as a Dark Dragon Synchro Monster, it allows you to destroy all attack position monsters your opponent controls. So even if you aren't necessarily playing a Red Dragon Archfiend deck, there are a lot of benefits for this Yu-Gi-Oh card. One, it allows you to be able to tutor out another dragon monster to your side of the field, and Red Dragon Archfiend, which is good at clearing boards. Or two, if you are summoning into a Dark Dragon Synchro monster, which is not hard, there's monsters like Bestial Dispatter that are really good, and even Scar Red Dragon Archfiend, which is incredible. It allows you to be able to wipe your opponent's board, clearing the attack path for you to be able to win the game. Overall though, these are going to be some cards that you are going to need in Master Duel in the future when decks like Centurion or even Horus comes out. Do not sleep on the Crimson King. The cards are actually pretty insane. Next, we're going to talk about Earthbound. Now, what's really interesting about Earthbound is that the deck is pretty much neutered already in Master Duel. With decks like Kashtira and Runic both being hit to death, it's not that good of a strategy. But let's go over some of the cards, because just like Red Dragon Archfiend, this can be used as an engine for other decks. The main components of the Earthbound is Earthbound Prisoner Stone Sweeper. And this card says if there is a field zone, you can special summon this card from your hand. This is actually pretty good for field zone decks, as you get a level 5 monster to your side of the field. And then it says you can discard this card to add one level 3 or lower Fiend Tuner from your deck to your hand, which is also ridiculous. Earthbound Prisoner Stone Sweeper can search Soul Resonator, which starts off your entire Red Dragon Archfiend combo. It also just so happens to be a dark monster that you can banish for your Bestial cards. These actually overlap with one another and make each other stronger. But that's probably not what we're going to talk about for the rest of the Earthbound monsters. Earthbound Prisoner Groundskeeper, when it is summoned, it allows you to be able to special summon one level 5 or higher Earthbound monster from your deck or graveyard. So theoretically, it is a free Synchro 6 if you're using it to summon Prisoner Stone Sweeper. And Line Walker, when it is summoned, allows you to be able to add Earthbound Prison or Harmonic Synchro Fusion from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Earthbound Prison allows you to be able to target a monster your opponent controls, and while this card is in the field zone, it negates that monster and then gives you an additional normal summon of your Earthbound monsters to your side of the field. The reason why this is so important is because these cards are incredible engine pieces. But more importantly, one of the best cards that this deck does have to offer is Harmonic Synchro Fusion, a card that allows you to be able to synchro summon into monsters like Baron de Fleur, and then turn around and fusion summon into monsters like Predaplant Dragostapelia. All you have to do is summon a fusion monster to your side of the field. If you're summoning any level 9 fusion monsters like Guardian Chimera, you can then turn that Guardian Chimera into a Baron and a Dragostapelia. This low-key makes the Chimera strategy crazy good when it comes out next month. It's good with Fluffles, it's good with Runic, it's good with Kashtira. These cards are secretly underrated. So the best part about this pack is that while it doesn't offer archetypes for brainless people to just shove into Master Duel and become tier 1, it offers support for strategies that are often long forgotten and forces creativity. Until we get to the last card I want to talk to you guys about in Transaction Rollback. Transaction Rollback is a pretty controversial card that at the cost of half your life points, you can target a trap card, your opponent's graveyard, and copy its effects. We do not care about that effect. We actually care about Transaction Rollback's graveyard effect, which allows us to banish it and pay half our life points to copy one of our trap cards. The reason why this is so good is because it puts Labyrinth over the top. If you're using cards like Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring or Ghost Bell to be able to counter Labyrinth's Big Welcome and Welcome Labyrinths, well, Transaction Rollback is another card that you're going to have to deal with because it can banish itself to copy those cards in the graveyard too. You also combine that with the fact that the Labyrinth monsters like Stovey Torby and Shane Dragon Lair allow you to freely discard Transaction Rollback. The deck becomes a lot more nuanced and has a lot more power plays. Transaction will skip the activation requirement of a lot of effects. The best way to put it is that if Transaction Rollback copies a card like Raigeki Break, then you don't have to discard a card from your hand to use Raigeki Break.
Can we Transaction Rollback a Magic Cylinder?
Yes, Patrick, we can Transaction Rollback a Magic Cylinder.
The next thing is a really interesting ruling. In the TCG out here, Transaction Rollback cannot copy Eradicator Epidemic Virus because the card says 3 turns after this card's activation. I will assure you guys that is a TCG thing. In the OCG, Transaction Rollback can copy Eradicator Epidemic Virus. And seeing that Master Duel is dominantly an OCG simulation game, odds are Transaction Rollback will be able to apply itself to Erad. It's really interesting because this brings a situation where Konami has to address it. As TCG players, they could be like, yo, the way you put Transaction Rollback is wrong. Or they could just kind of be like, yo, you know what? That makes sense. Let's not make Transaction do it. I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with Transaction Rollback in Master Duel. But keep in mind, guys, if they do it that way, that is not how it works in the TCG. And that's pretty much all that I have for the update on the Master Duel cards. I'm pretty excited to be able to see what's going on in these particular cards, and I'll be opening my packs. You guys already know where to catch me Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday on Twitch at 11 p.m. 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I can't wait to see you there.